So I've been playing fair in modern a little bit recently. I've been playing a little Jund, a little Grixis Control. These grindy, kind of crappy decks. But so we're gonna play a little more unfair today. We're gonna Tron some people. And granted, this is a little bit on the fair side as far as Tron decks are concerned. And I'm only playing 10 Tron pieces too. So what the hell? What the hell? But yeah. So. This deck was an old favorite of mine. This was my jam in Modern for a while. And I did okay. I got 9th at a Grand Prix and like top 32 in another Grand Prix. And then there was another Grand Prix I played in that I was like too sick. And I dropped after being like 5-1 or 6-1, something like that. So, yeah, we haven't really touched it since. I don't really know why. I also played this at Worlds one year. And I punted. I punted pretty badly. I needed to like 2-0 to top 8 or something. And I punted. So horribly. But yeah, my win rate with this deck has actually been pretty good. I haven't tried it lately, and it kind of scares me because this deck has not really gotten a lot of new toys, at least in like the 2 years that I was playing it, and all the other decks have kind of like been streamlined and tuned and everything, and no one's working on blue-white Tron, so what the hell? This deck kind of stays in like the dark ages, I guess. It doesn't really get refined or anything, but I'm ready to do some refining because we got some new stuff. So, basically, yeah, only 10 Tron pieces because I wanted to try a build that was more of like a blue-white control-ish type deck that wasn't just like hell-bent on getting Tron. Just like it's just a thing that'll happen like kind of naturally as the game progresses and you see more cards. So I'm not going out of my way to do it. I still got 4 expedition maps and I'm trying to make it happen at some point, but I'm in no rush, really. So, this deck has things like Remand and Path to Exile to not die in the early game. It has Thirst for Knowledge as its main card drawer, and then it has Gifts Ungiven to set up an Unburial Rites for either Elish Norn or Iona. So, Gifts Ungiven, you can only search for 2 cards if you want to, and then no matter what, they have to pick 2 cards to go to the graveyard. So you just get Unburial Rites and your fatty of choice. And hopefully that's good enough to win you the game. And against a lot of decks in Modern, the combination of these two, if one of them doesn't kill them, the other one probably will. The exception there is like the big mana decks where we have a Terastodon in the sideboard to blow up their lands, turn them into elephants. So this deck either killed with Academy Ruins, Crucible of Worlds, and Mindslaver, which takes way too long, especially on Magic Online. And the other way is Expedition Map for Eye of Ugin and then searching for an Emrakul. Now, I don't have either of those things. I have Gifts for the fatties. I have some Ugins at the top end. I feel like Ugin, if you can cast it, is certainly a very good card in Modern, and it is very tough for a lot of decks to beat. So, things like Jund and things like any sort of green deck, really. Just like the Malira Collecting Company decks. I know that those aren't very popular or whatever, but Ugin against those decks is just kind of like the nail in the coffin. They generally can't remove a Planeswalker, especially one with so much loyalty. It generally wipes their board, and that's just kind of the game. So, I'm trying some Ugins. Have a Haven of the Spirit Dragon to get with your Expedition maps in case, maybe they make you discard your Ugin, or like it's too expensive and you Thirst for Knowledge it away or something, then you have a way to get it back in the later game. I also built a version of this deck that just tried to kill them with infinite Ugins, because you could set up a Crucible of Worlds and just play a Haven every turn and just get back your Ugin. But, like I said, against most decks, I feel like Ugin is just game. So, I don't think you really need the Crucible to make this happen, because they probably can't kill like 2 or 3 Ugins. So, who cares? It doesn't really matter. You just need 1 or 2. And then, the other thing, we have the Ceaseless Hunger. And my thing just moved a little bit. I don't know why. Puppy, where are you going? Where are you going? Stay up here. Be good. We're getting to the good part. We're getting to the Ceaseless Hunger. Yeah, it moved again. All right. Okay, so, yeah, we have Ulamog. We have an Eye of Ugin. That's our big Eldrazi top-end finish. And I think something like this is nice against Jund. Maybe with the Ugins we don't need it, but I want to try it. This also gives us a thing that we can do against Scapeshift and stuff like that. Tron Mirrors. It might actually get to the point where you're just like, all right, I'm going to get an Ulamog. Also, there might be some decks where, like, you can just Unburial Rites this thing, because 10/10 Indestructible might kill them. I'm not sure what those decks are. Maybe we'll play against some of them. Who knows? But, yeah, that's about it. This deck, I don't know. People do a lot of weird stuff to their Tron decks, and I don't really like it. They play things like Supreme Verdict, Wrath of God, Day of Judgment for like this 3 sweeper thing that they can like gifts for or whatever. But it's like against a deck where you probably want a sweeper, and Elesh Norn is probably good enough. So if you're casting gifts for sweepers, you should probably just get Elesh Norn on Burial Rites. Obviously, they could have like a Tormod's Crypt or a Scavenging Ooze or something, and maybe that's a little bit weird, but at that point, I'd rather just, like, try and gifts for missing Tron pieces and maybe set up Ugin or whatever, but I don't like the things that just interact with creatures and, like, don't draw you a card or don't give you a ton of time, so my way of building this deck has always been Path to Exile, Repeal, and Timely Reinforcements, and I think Timely, like, the power of this card in this deck can't really be understated, because even against something like Jund, like, they play a Tarmogoyf, you play a Timely, now it's like they can't really Liliana you because maybe you remove their Tarmogoyf and start attacking their Liliana and stuff like that. This also gives you like a sick main deck hate card against Burn, which is nice. And I like Repeal just because of the velocity the card has. A big part of me trying to win with this deck is making sure that you're seeing a bunch of cards per game. And at one of the Grand Prix I did play, and I played some sweepers and because I was scared of Geist Saint Trap because Jeskai was pretty big. And that was just bad. Like, the card would just rot in my hand. It didn't cycle. It didn't do anything. So I want more velocity. I want to see cards. I want to just play Repeal. And that's generally good enough. So it's basically just like your Gifts on Burial Rites will beat the Fair Creature decks. And your Ugins will also beat those decks. And you just try and not die to the combo decks with things like Path and Remand. And then hopefully have a good sideboard against them. So yeah, that's my take on the deck. That's how I do it. And like I said, I've tried it the other way. I've not been a huge fan, so this is how we're gonna do things. People also just play more Colonnades. I don't really like the ETB tapped aspect of Colonnade. I do like having some as a way to again attack Liliana the Veil. Like that is kind of a problematic card, but you generally don't really kill people with Colonnades, and you certainly don't need 4 of them. And now we have Flooded Strand too, so it's just like, man, what are you doing with all these Colonnades? All this ETB tapped nonsense. Like, we have Seachrome Coast, too. I'm not even playing, like, the maximum amount of Seachrome Coast, and Seachrome Coast is great. But, yeah, I like Flooded Strand now. We have access to Plains or Island, so Blood Moon is not, like, a huge deal. And granted, Blood Moon is, like, still pretty overrated against this deck because we have Signets, and we can just, like, you know, gifts for a fatty and just, like, ignore their Blood Moon. But now we even have Flooded Strand and basics, and it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of nonsense. So, have a Teleria West to put into gifts packages to find Tron pieces. I have some utility lands to search for off of Expedition map, and I kind of put Colonnade in that camp too. And Ghost Quarter for like mirrors, basically. Not stone blue-white mirrors, but green-red Tron. And Amulet, maybe something like Affinity or Infect also. The Haven to get back the Ugin. The Eye of Ugin to get the Ulamog. The Colonnade to maybe kill them, and then we have a sideboard. So a lot of sideboard options, actually. This is a new one. I have not played with this yet, but Affinity is just a bad matchup. It is not good. And granted, I don't even like Hurkyl's Recall against them that much, just because it's like, all right, pick up some of your stuff. They don't have to pick up, like, their Blink Moss or their Glimmer Voids or any of that stuff, so it's not even as backbreaking as it used to be. And then just, like, over the course of, like, a turn, maybe 2 turns, they have to replay all their stuff, so, like, this basically just gives you a turn or 2. Like, the best case scenario is, like, they make their land drop and, like, put plating on something and go to attack you, and then you make them pick all their stuff up. And even if they have, like, zeros and stuff, they just, like, replay those. It's just, like, pretty rare that they even have to discard. And then they just replay out all their, like, Mox Opals and Springleaf Drums and stuff and just replay all their stuff. So, like, it's not even great, but it's, like, you need something to give you a turn to get to Unburial Rites for Elesh Norn, and I'm going to try the Hurkyls and see if those do the trick. Ghostly Prison, also quite good against them. Not good if they have a plating, but if they have a Steel Overseer or Signal Pest Draw, then Ghostly Prison kind of shuts them down. Prison's also a nice card against things like Zoo. It's good against Splinter Twin, even if they're siding out their combo in favor of, you know, some more control-y stuff, and they just try and, like, tempo you out with Snapcasters and stuff. Like, Ghostly Person is nice because, you know, they can't usually afford to just, like, pay 2 mana to attack you for 2 with a Snapcaster. So I like those, and against things like Twin, we basically just try and turtle up get the basically the prison aspect going on. Like you have some spell skies, you have some ghostly prisons. You end up with some more counter spells, Dispel and Negates. Celestial Purge also can kill Splinter Twin, or it takes out Keranos or Blood Moon, whatever they have. They used to have like Lavamancer too, and that would be like a pretty annoying way for them to try and beat you because it gets around like prison and stuff. But Purge just it answers a decent amount of their cards actually post board. And then the plan against Burn is basically like Spellskite, Celestial Purge, Wormcoil Engine, and Max on Timely. You also get some counter spells against them. So the Burn matchup is not terrible. You could also play Leyline of Sanctity, which is pretty nice against them. And then Wormcoil Engine is mostly there for Jund, but also comes in against Burn. And then, yeah, Terrastodon to blow up lands and whatnot. So that's it. That's my Tron deck. So hopefully we're going to do some sweet, sick things to people, and it'll be a lot of fun for us, not a lot of fun for them. So let's do it.